happened before with school districts. I've seen this happen before with city councils. Have you called in the state to come mediate?
Did I call in the state?
Have you called? Have you reached out to the state to come in and mediate what's going on here? So I've seen school boards where you have lots of drama, and Texas Education Agency, comes in and deals with that. You're having these issues there. Have you reached out to state lawmakers? Have you reached out to state representatives?
Situation going on in a small village outside of Chicago, thanks to this mayor, Tiffany Henyard. And with George Santos leaving that house, this is the new funniest, most corrupt politician in the United States of America. I learned about Tiffany today when I read an article about the ordinance she's putting in that states if she loses her re-election to be mayor, the mayor's salary will be decreased from $225,000 to $25,000. But if she wins, it will stay the same. When I read that, I realized I had to learn everything about this woman. And as it turns out, the 90% pay cut doesn't even crack the top 10 of the most corrupt things that this woman has done in a short year that she's been the mayor of Dolton, Illinois. If you're on a highway near Dolton, Illinois, you will see
into her privately owned cancer awareness charity, which you cannot do. And one of those investigations that the chief of police was investigating, it stated here in this tweet, and shout out to this person for tweeting this, they said Mayor Tiffany Henyard is one of the most corrupt ever. She actually hired a child offender, overpays her police officers. She overpays her police officers to be her security, which what do you need that much security for? You're a mayor of a town with about 20,000 people. One of the officers was paid $13,000 in 2 weeks for 300 hours of overtime, because nobody believes that. Nobody believes.
Two documents that we talked specifically about are the annual financial report, and you see the citation here to state law, and the audited financial statements. The village has not, and let me repeat that, the village has not complied with these statutory requirements since fiscal year 2010. There's no annual financial report available after 2021, and no audited financial statements after 2021. So what that means is the information that we're providing you has not been thoroughly audited by.
The mayor rarely talks to reporters, and she let the defense attorney she's retained do most of the talking with WGN News. He says Freeman put Henyard's safety at risk by removing her security detail.
Under the law, he's out when she says he's out.
How is he putting you at risk?
You didn't answer that.
Is it that there's speculation that prosecutors are putting pressure on him to cooperate with their investigation into you?
No, we're talking about the removal of security detail.
This isn't the first time Henyard's safety has taken center stage.
Meanwhile, we can help each other. Why we can't put our hands together and help one another. Why we can't band together at this time, at this moment. This is what we got history from, right? Y'all all say Martin Luther King had a dream. But guess what? I am the dream. So now I need you guys to stand with me.
The supervisor, there will be no comments, there will be anything, it'll just be me addressing you guys to tell you what's going on in Thornton Township.
When can we address you?
Henyard called Wednesday's special meeting, she said, in response to a series of ordinances the village's board passed last week to manage event spending. In video of the August 20th meeting provided to ABC7 by the Lansing Journal.
We getting scrutinized in the media. For what? Loving on the people? Showing them that they matter to us? We going through the fires for y'all. Y'all should be ashamed of yourself. Y'all black. Y'all are black. And y'all sitting up here beating and attacking on a black woman that's in power. Y'all should be ashamed of yourself.
A motion to terminate Keith Freeman.
Henyard announced his termination last
going into her quote here, because again, maybe some of her trustees are finally starting to fall off bit by bit. It's just taking a little bit longer than expected, which is crazy. Today, I'm breaking my silence and speaking out against Thornton Township Supervisor and Mayor of Dolton, Tiffany Henyard, who I believe has engaged in unethical and predatory behavior throughout her tenure. Man, I got to use this. Wow. Okay, and this is Carmen Carlisle, okay, who wrote this emailed statement to this.
I think the police isn't the answer. What do you plan to do with your resources? Is it less money or more money to police departments?
Well, it's more money towards the areas of needs, right? And as I mentioned before, we're working to double the amount of young people that we hire, not just for summer jobs, but for year-round positions.
I got some advice. If you can, move out of Chicago mayor in all of America. So this mayor named Tiffany Henyard is the mayor of a place called Dolton, Illinois. And essentially every single resident in Dolton wants Tiffany out of office. This is mainly because Tiffany's very controversial use of taxpayer money. For starters, Tiffany has a full security detail that goes everywhere with her in the town. This security detail is estimated to be about $250K a year. In addition to security, Tiffany also uses taxpayer funds to do things like buying billboards with her face and name on it. She also puts her name all over government vehicles and buildings throughout the town, and she even has her own 2024 calendar, and of course she put her own birthday,
her own people's, from her own town's bank accounts, okay? And it's wild, right? Millions of dollars. What I find really interesting about this situation is that it seems like the rest of the world who's been following this is following it because they all understood the assignment. They all understood what was going on. Now, it seems like one other board of trustees, okay, finally got the memo. Yeah, I think she
push anybody that has that. If someone uses my name to push their charity, or if you say this is Tiffany t-shirt, people gonna buy it. Because right now I'm considered what? Clickbait. People make money off of my name by views. So you just say my
you
name.
don't have a, you say you don't have a foundation.
I do not. And that's why I tell everybody go do your research. I'm not on anything.
So when we see all of this back and forth, when we see this going back and forth, have you?
No, sir.
The village of Dolton is in the midst of a severe financial crisis, carrying over $3.05 million in debt. Mayor Tiffany Henyard is facing intense scrutiny, accused of misappropriating funds for personal expenses. As the village sinks deeper into financial turmoil, Henyard has seemingly vanished from the public eye, leaving many residents worried about Dolton's future. The gravity of the situation has sparked widespread outrage, with one observer remarking, "I've never seen any municipality with so many credit cards being used for personal expenses. The number of restaurant orders is mind-boggling." This statement captures the growing frustration and distrust surrounding Henyard's leadership. Both residents and officials are now questioning the silence from the mayor's office, with one supervisor expressing, "We are not brainwashed, we are fed up." The sentiment of anger is spreading across the village, where patience has completely worn thin. Tiffany Henyard, once a powerful figure in Dolton, is rapidly losing her allies as the accusations of corruption and unethical behavior continue to pile up. Her inner circle, once loyal, is now falling apart. The revelations about her questionable financial dealings are casting an even darker shadow over her already embattled administration. One of the biggest blows to Henyard's leadership came from an unexpected source, Thornton Township Board trustee Carmen Carlisle. Once believed to be firmly on Henyard's side, Carlisle shocked everyone by publicly accusing the 41-year-old mayor of unethical behavior to enhance her influence. This betrayal could not have come at a worse time for Henyard, who is already reeling from criticism over her lavish spending and fraud allegations. Carlisle took to the public stage to break her silence, stating, "I can no longer stay quiet about Tiffany Henyard, Thornton Township Supervisor and Dolton Mayor. I believe she has engaged in unethical and predatory practices throughout her term." Carlisle, who had once turned a blind eye to Henyard's excessive spending, explained that her trust in the administration had evaporated. For the past 2 years, Henyard has manipulated employees, vendors, and residents to increase her power, all while creating a false image of success funded by hard-working taxpayers in both Thornton Township and Dolton, Carlisle revealed. Carlisle also shared that she had witnessed Henyard's lavish spending firsthand, but hesitated to speak out because she had trusted the administration. "I am speaking out not just for myself, but for others who have been affected by Henyard's leadership," Carlisle said. "I believe there are many more victims who have been retaliated against, fired, or deceived by Henyard, but who have yet to come forward." Her decision to break her silence marked a turning point, and it was clear Henyard's grip on power was slipping. But Henyard wasn't going to let these accusations go unanswered. In a typical show of defiance, she fired back at Carlisle, dubbing her Lying Carlisle. Henyard attempted to shift the blame, saying, "I think I'm going to call you Lying Carlisle. I'm tired of everyone in here, it's always a show. You were part of this board, right? So why didn't you speak up earlier? Where was this energy last year or even months ago? Henyard's response seemed to confirm that there was indeed something wrong with her administration. Her frustration was evident, and her usually controlled demeanor was starting to crack. Henyard tried to deflect the blame onto Carlisle, accusing her of neglecting her duties as a trustee. But Carlisle fired back, explaining, "The reason I didn't ask questions earlier was because I trusted the administration and the process, but once that trust was broken, I started asking questions. As your assistant, I saw and heard a lot." Carlisle revealed that her doubts about Henyard's leadership first emerged when the mayor went on a national platform and claimed ignorance about a foundation. "You forget that I was in those rooms when key decisions were made," Carlisle said. "You weren't truthful about that foundation. You even came to my house unannounced afterward, trying to convince me to say someone else started the foundation." Carlisle's revelations put Henyard's shady financial dealings in the spotlight. But she wasn't the only one losing patience. Trustee Chris Gonzalez had been pushing Henyard for months to provide transparency regarding the village's financial records. After his repeated requests for access were ignored, Gonzalez called for a special meeting on August 15 to directly confront the mayor about her unchecked spending. This meeting wasn't business as usual. It was more like an intervention. The agenda was packed with Henyard's worst fears, from approving questionable payments to pressing for overdue invoices. The real game changer, though, came when 6 new ordinances were introduced aimed at restricting Henyard's powers. These included travel restrictions, salary cuts, tighter budget controls, limits on credit card use, and a ban on using township resources for personal PR. Interestingly, Henyard's rise to power had been largely thanks to a last-minute nomination by none other than Chris Gonzalez. She was voted in and sworn in just minutes before the midnight deadline. While many thought the nomination was random, it later came to light that Henyard had actually applied for the position well in advance. Tiffany Henyard was nominated as a last resort, a source close to the matter revealed. It became apparent that the rushed nomination and appointment might have been a mistake, as Henyard's leadership quickly faltered. Residents of Dolton expressed their growing dissatisfaction, with one lamenting, "It's heartbreaking, our senior citizens can't afford basic necessities because of Tiffany's corruption." Another voiced frustration, saying, "I knew something was off from the start. Tiffany needs to be held accountable. She shouldn't be allowed to spend our tax dollars like this is her personal cash register." Despite the growing opposition, Henyard was desperate to hold on to power. She tried to rush through a critical agenda item, the backup invoices from the finance department. These invoices would have revealed the extent of her hidden spending. But Gonzalez wasn't going to let that happen. Since former aide Keith Freeman had blown the whistle on Henyard's questionable activities in July and was subsequently fired, Henyard replaced him with her loyal ally, Keith Price. This move was made without board approval, further solidifying her attempts to consolidate power. However, Gonzalez was ready to push back, pointing out that Price had no authority to handle sensitive financial documents without the board's consent. Henyard tried to argue that Price's appointment didn't require board approval, even claiming that it had been approved all along. In the end, Henyard called for a vote on the invoices, hoping to push her agenda through. But the tide had turned. Trustees Jerry Jones, Chris Gonzalez, and Carmen Carlisle all voted in favor of investigating the invoices, leaving Henyard as the lone dissenting vote. The motion passed, marking a critical moment in the unraveling of Tiffany Henyard's power. As the walls close in on Henyard, her once feared reign over Dolton now looks like a fragile house of cards, ready to collapse. With federal investigations, whistleblower accounts, and mounting allegations of corruption, her leadership is hanging by a thread. What was once a position of influence and power now stands as a symbol of scandal, deception, and financial mismanagement, with the people of Dolton paying the price for her actions.